Happy birthday to XXXTentacion. He would have been 23 today on January 23rd. And you know what? It was such a sad loss for the whole community. He had so much potential. And, he could have gone into so many different lanes and genres if it wasn't for hip hop. Who knows the people he would have collaborated with? There was rumors of Joey Badass having a whole mixtape with him. There was a rumor of Ski Mask also having a mixtape with him. He could have done so much. And, we're just unfortunate to see that his career got clipped so short.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see how much of a cult following that he had built over just being in the industry for a couple of years. I mean, and it's because of his versatility. Like you said, he could have done rock music, punk music, grunge. All of those genres influenced his music, and that really showed in his later work on the album Question Mark. But what's really striking to me is how XXX's music has saved a generation.
Absolutely.
Just because of those themes of tackling depression, alienation, abuse, and all these types of things that, not many other rappers or hip hop artists, dive into as much depth as XXX.
Yeah, and before we actually get into this whole episode, guys, in the comment section, leave your favorite X song. We'll be going through those. We'll be responding to you. So, diving into this episode, Lou, explain me why you like these albums so much, and explain to me, why do you think it had such a big impact on the hip hop culture? Because this was more of a cultural thing, let's say, than a mini impact or a mini rise to fame. Because X is actually, I think, the seventh most streamed artist in the 2010 decade. I think that's a fact.
Seventh or eighth, yeah. He has 13.3 billion streams and counting, and that's only going up just because his music has so much longevity.
Yeah.
And he started back in 2013 on SoundCloud, and he got noticed because of his production, also because there were a lot of distorted beats, a lot of punk and rock sounds mixed in with hip hop, and people took a liking to it. But he really blew up in 2017 with his song "Look at Me."
Wow, that went crazy.
And that's still a banger, man. And it's amazing that you go from a song like "Look at Me" to a song like "Sad" and see just that versatility, man. He could have done it all.
Yeah, Moonlight, Jocelyn Flores, Fuck Love. Like, there's so many different sounds he tapped into.
I want to talk specifically about the album 17,
Okay.
which is, X's version of an R&B album, and it's only 22 minutes long. It only has 11 songs, and that's where we got Jocelyn Flores, we got Everybody Dies in Their Nightmares, we got some of X's best songs on that mixtape.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see the topics that he dives into, such as suicide, feeling like he's trapped in his own dark thoughts, and everything musically in that album worked for me.
It did, and it was one coherent project that had so much value to it. I mean, you expect a 22-minute album to not be much and to be quite empty, but, it deserved the cosign by Kendrick himself on his Twitter being like, yo, you guys got to go listen to this. The amount of stuff that was put into a 22-minute track is absolutely incredible.
The exact tweet from Kendrick was listen to 17 if you feel anything, raw thoughts.
Nuts.
And that's what it was. And X actually starts off the album 17 with kind of on the explanation, which is the name of the intro track, where he says, this is an entrance into my mind, and you might not fuck with it, but this is just me being brutally honest about, where I'm at in my headspace.
Yeah, and the whole thing is a brutal, honest sort of quotation about life. And it's highlighting everything that, let's say, hurts you. It's also highlighting everything that puts you into a vulnerable place and allows you to watch these complex I would say, events transpire within you.
And why do you think that this music stuck so much with the younger generation that it did?
Well, I mean, listen, you know what? It's tough times, and I feel as if more than ever people are starting to speak out against, speak out on mental health. I mean, if we're not talking about this, then is it ever really going to get to a good place, right? Then we all know how, back then, especially, with generations over us, it was sort of seen as a weak flaw to talk about your mental health. I mean, it was sort of seen as a weakness and a mental disease to have to go and talk to a therapist, but that was never the case. And I felt that for myself, right? Because, when I was first thinking about that, when I was younger, I was like, okay, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fitting for me to go have to do that. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I'm just going to go through it. But hip hop allowed me to have an open acceptance of myself and of everything that went on in my life.
And that's exactly what X's music does.
Absolutely.
And, he even leveled up when he put out Question Mark on March 12th, 2018. And that album is amazing. And we got songs like Alone Part 3 and Numb, which we have these acoustic guitar beats, and where, X is talking about embracing his own pain and just about, how he views his self-worth and, how damaged he is in a sense. And people related to that just because of how honest he was, and the fact that, making someone feel like, he shares the same issues as them. That's huge, man.
It is huge. And the type of literature that he was able to put into that project was quite mind-blowing, especially for an artist in his sort of lane, in quotations, because people were putting him like with the likes of, the trap sort of like, SoundCloud rappers, because he was a SoundCloud rapper, but it was an understatement of the type of music that this guy was making. It was much more complex than that. It was different than just him going on to beats and, spitting whatever he had to spit, making his millions, walking away from it. He was making genuine music. And one thing I liked about X's career was the amount of good interviews he's had. His Adam 22 interview was legendary. That No Jumper interview was crazy. And I love the type of insight that this guy gives on in life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I want to ask you, why do you think songs like Jocelyn Flores, let's say, had such a big impact on, let's say kids younger than our age?
Just because, no one really, I guess, spoke to them and, in a very direct way where they can get a sense of what it feels like for an artist of that stature to be going through the same issues as them. Just because, we don't hear it often, like you said, especially in the hip-hop genre.
Yeah.
But I really love what he did with the album Question, just because on songs like Sad, he talks about, enduring pain after heartbreak, dealing with that loss of a relationship. And that was actually the first song since Biggie's Mo Money, Mo Problems to go #1 posthumously on the Billboard Hot 100 chart.
That's crazy. Yeah, and he deserves it. He deserves every single piece of praise that that is put onto XXXTentacion's name is merited.
And look, there's a lot of controversy, around his name, but we're not here to talk about that. You know what I mean? We're here to talk about his music and his impact, which is amazing. And apart from songs like Sad on Question, you got Infinity 888 with Joey Badass,
where he's just ripping it.
You could save XXX's flows into a time capsule for how crazy they were on that song.
And not only that, but I would have loved to heard that mixtape. If that ever gets released,
the collab album between him and Joey.
Oh my God, because they were working on that, and I think Joey just noticed the type of potential he had. But listen, guys, long live X. He's crazy. He's done a lot of good stuff. God bless his soul. And you know what? I hope he's doing good, because his music will live on forever.